Hello Notjust developers, welcome to another live stream. Recently, a couple of huge updates happened in the React Native ecosystem that I think is important for all React Native developers, and in this live stream I want to go over them and give you a more hands-down approach of exploring these new changes. And I'm talking about the React Native 0.76, the new version of React Native, which marks a big milestone for the new architecture because now it's stable and it's going to be the default architecture for all new applications. And also in React Native 0.76, we are going to get the new React Native DevTools for a better development experience and a lot more, which we're going to talk today. On the other side, Expo. We're working hard to bring the Expo SDK 52 and Expo SDK 52 at the moment of recording this live stream. It's in beta, but it's going to be available in the next weeks. And I really want to go in depth into all the changes that Expo is bringing to the table. The SDK 52 is going to include React Native 0.76, but it also has a lot of additional changes, additional libraries, additional things, important things that we have to know as a React Native developer. So this is going to be the plan for today. I want to go through these release pages to understand better, to give you a little bit more context where I feel that it needs to be, to explain some things that might be a bit more confusing. Also, there will be things that I'm not going to understand, and we're gonna dive deeper to try to make sense of everything and to understand how these changes affect us as React Native developers. I want to mention that this is going to be the first time that I'm going to go through these release notes and going in depth into all the features. I didn't have time to prepare beforehand because I'm working on two important things that are going to happen very soon for notjust.dev. And here I'm talking about the launch of our upcoming course, React Native Mastery, which is happening on November 26th. And I'm finishing up the last features there. Super excited about this one. And also another thing that takes a lot of my time these days is preparing the new edition of Notjust Hack, our hackathon that we are organizing already for the third year. And this time it's going to be 1 month long, starting on December 1st, all the way to December 31st. More about that, you can find Notjust Hack at notjusthack.com and you can already sign up. But more about all of this, we can get into, we can talk about them a bit later. So allow me to say hi to everyone who is joining us live. You guys are very important in today's live stream because it's not going to be as usual. I'm going to interact more with a live chat. I can answer questions. We can explore together because it's going to be a bit different. So yeah, hello everyone. Hello Michael from Kenya. Hello Sajid from Pakistan. Hello Valentin. Can't wait for the hackathon. Yes, let's go. Is it going to be the first time you participate, or did you participate in previous year's hackathon? Hello Antonio from Italy. Hello Yup from Turkey. How are you doing, guys? All right, so let's do it this way. Let's go ahead and start going through the blog post of the releases for Expo SDK 52 and React Native 0.76. Try to read them top to bottom and pick some topics that we would like today to explore and actually get our hands on. Because for me personally, that's the best way how I learn. That's exploring and messing around with stuff, not just reading. And that's what we're gonna do. There are some things that I really want to try myself and show you as well. And we're gonna note it down. And if you find something interesting, let me know in the chat. We're gonna explore them together. So let me bring the chat here closer to me and we can get started. Should we start with React Native or with Expo? Hello Lunga, how are you doing? South Africa. Hello Short Video Maker from India. Hello Lolly from Nigeria. Zinedine from Algeria. Rogelio, how are you doing, man? Hello Niwad. Okay, I think we can go first really quickly through the React Native 0.76 documentation, because first we have the core, the React Native part, the changes that are coming through React Native 0.76, and on top of that, we're gonna have the additional features from Expo. So React Native 0.76 was launched on October 23rd, quite recently. And this is, as I said, this is a huge milestone for the React Native, because from now on, the new architecture is going to be enabled by default. This one was a huge effort from the React Native team, and now it's finally enabled by default, and we're going to talk about it in a second. And moreover, we're going to have a new DevTools. The DevTools were a pain point for React Native for a very long time. We've got a lot of tools before, and now it seems that we're going to have a new one. Let's see how it goes. So, major milestone for React Native, because they are enabling the new architecture. Yeah, this is the work that has been done over the last 6 years from the Meta team and with the support of a community. So the highlights, React Native new architecture. We have to talk about that. The new DevTools, I want to give them a try. Probably we're gonna do that when building. So let's do here, try. It's going to be DevTools. For sure. Faster macro resolutions, we're gonna see that. And box shadow and filters. A new style prop which makes it easier to add box shadows and filters to React Native. Excited about that one. Breaking changes. Finally, they removed the dependency of a React Native community CLI from React Native, and that is because React Native is moving towards making React Native as the core and encouraging people or developers to use a framework such as Expo. They started this year being more public and very, they announced it that they are supporting developers to use a framework, and that's why now they are removing the React Native community CLI from the dependency of React Native. That doesn't mean that you cannot use React Native community CLI. You can, but it's not going to be dependency of React Native itself. Okay, so highlights. Let's start with React Native architecture by default. Starting from 0.76, the new architecture is enabled by default. And the new architecture is a rewrite of the internals of React Native to enable app developers to develop high-quality native application using React. This is a lot like marketing jargon, like it doesn't tell us a lot. And you might have a feeling that you heard like React Native new architecture for a very long time, and it looks like some kind of terms because it's really hard to understand like how everything behind the scenes works, because as developers, we don't have to basically rely that much on that low-level interactions from the JavaScript side and native side. So it's really hard to understand like what's truly going behind the scenes without us having to dedicate some effort from ourselves to understand how the architecture works, how everything is connected together from JavaScript to the native. So the new architecture is ready for production. You can start using it in production. And it's a huge milestone for React Native. That's indeed true. You can read more about the new architecture here, but long story short, in the old architecture of React Native, the communication between the JavaScript side and the native side was happening over a bridge. And what does it mean? Like, whenever you are trying to let's say render a native view on iOS or a native view on Android and send there some data, that was happening by going from the JavaScript side, from where React is working, and taking all of the data that should tell the native side what it should do. It was serializing everything to JSON or to strings. It was passing it through the bridge. On the other side, it was deserializing it back to an object and using it to perform an action, either render something or do something. And that was happening the same when the communication should go from native side back to the JavaScript side. For example, we have a button and we are attaching like an on-press event on that button. The button is a native component. It's using the native iOS button if working on iOS, or native Android button on Android. And when the user presses that button, that click is handled on the native side. And that the data, like what was clicked, where it was clicked, and so on, what component was clicked, was taken from the native side, was serialized, sent through the bridge, and on the other end, on the JavaScript side, it was taken and executed the JavaScript code that you provided, like, hey, go fetch some data here. So this bridge was the core of architecture in the past, and it was helping like do this communication between JavaScript and native side, and allowed us to write JavaScript, but use native side components and native side code. And that was good, but it had like some bottlenecks. Like this communication was asynchronous because serializing to a string or to a JSON and deserializing was taking time, and you cannot do that synchronously. And yeah, like it added a lot of overhead for the communication. In the new architecture, the meta team thought about removing the bridge and replacing it with a GSI, which is basically a way, in simple terms, it's a way for JavaScript to call directly C++ functions on the native side. At least that's how I understand it. So the benefits is that this invocation, this function call, this interaction is going to be synchronous. So you can invoke and exchange data synchronously between the native side and the JavaScript side. And it's supposed to improve the performance. We can maybe find like some performance benchmarks today to see what it happens. But the general thing is that even if in some use cases the performance is not going to be anything noticeably different, like in some specific cases, anyway, it's going to bring like other benefits of a simplified architecture and a better way of dealing with this communication between JavaScript and the native. And at the same time, like we are at the beginning of a new architecture, and this is just the beginning point. Like the things will only be better starting from here. Let's see. I pressed on this, the new architecture is here. So it will, the new architecture add full support for the new features like suspense, transitions, use layout effect. Okay. Okay, like you can read all of that, but in the end, like everything that matters is this bridge that in old architecture was the link between the JavaScript side, the React renderer, and the native side, the native renderer. Now, like the bridge is gone and the communication happens directly. All right, let me check. Save the best for last, the Expo stuff. Yes. Nikos has a recommendation for a next build. Actually, a very good place where I don't talk about it a lot, but where I use it often when preparing new builds, is actually going to notjust.dev repository, going to discussions, and here is where I collect ideas. So if you have ideas for projects, for anything that you'd like me to do on YouTube, go ahead and submit them here. I'm actually going to leave in the chat. How about migrating one of your apps to the new architecture and seeing the benchmarks? We could do that, but I think the challenging part is how to actually perform the benchmarking. Hello, Aditya. All right, so let's move on to the next step from the React Native 076. And here is the React Native DevTools. So it seems that we are getting a new DevTools. They're releasing the first stable version of React Native DevTools, the new default debugging experience. We want the tooling you use to debug React across all platforms to be reliable, familiar, and simple, which means both React and React Native. React Native DevTools delivers on these principles. It's browser-aligned developer tools that are deeply integrated with React Native. Key feature includes familiar web-aligned tooling, a fully featured debugger based on Chrome DevTools. With reliable breakpoints, watch values, step through debugging, stack inspection, and rich JavaScript console. This core feature now work reliable across reloads. Okay. Improved and integrated React DevTools. The built-in React components inspector and profile work seamlessly with faster and more reliable component highlighting. Okay. Fix the reconnection behavior. And we can open it by pressing J to debug. So yeah, like the debugging is going to move more towards the DevTools from the browser that we are used to when working with web applications, with React and so on. I already was using them a lot, especially to debug like network requests in my application, but it seems that now we're gonna have more of that here. So React Native DevTools is fundamentally different from our previous debugging options, including being different from the experimental debugger experience that was shipped in 73. So it's even different from the one that we launched in 73. It switches to a new backend debugging stack that we've rebuilt over the last year. This means that the compatibility with previous tooling has changed. Let's see that one. And you should also expect a much more reliable experience end to end. We intend to build upon this new stack to allow reliably implement more features in future, such as performance and network panels. Okay, like this is kind of like it tells a lot, but at the same time, it doesn't tell a lot. So for these kind of things, what I personally need is like actually trying it out, like experiencing it myself. Because right now, like it doesn't tell me a lot. Like I don't understand like what's different here, what's changed, what's new, and so on. So I really have to dive deeper into this and try to understand like by using it, how it's going to change. And it seems that phasing out logs in Metro in the next release, there will be no we're gonna stop forwarding logs to Metro. And I think that means that we're not gonna see the logs in them where we run our Metro bundler, basically the development server of React Native. Because in the past period, that's where I was checking like the logs. Now it seems that we are not going to be there starting from the next version, and actually there is we're gonna see that in a second when we launch a new application. Because yeah, instead we should use React Native DevTools, the console log panel for logging. Updated debugging docs. Okay, perfect. So for compatibility, Chrome browser DevTools is unsupported. What? Running Hermes. So that's good. It replaces the previous Flipper, the experimental debugger, Hermes debugger, and so on. It is not possible to set up React Native DevTools with any older version of React Native. What does that mean? Chrome browser DevTools unsupported. Visual Studio Code unsupported. Okay. Here, like indeed, like we're gonna have to actually get our hands dirty, like big time, to try to understand better. try, yeah, I said try DevTools. The debugging tools, like are changing quite often, and we had Flipper, we had like in the past like the ability to debug it with Chrome DevTools. Then after introducing of Hermes, it was not possible to do it in Chrome, and we had to use Flipper. When Flipper was deprecated, we just simply used the Metro logs to check them. And now we have a new tool. Let's see how that works. Speaking about the Metro, we're gonna have faster Metro resolutions. Performance benefits are always nice. Let's see what that means. Improvements to Metro Resolver, the component responsible for finding a module from an import path, making it around 15 faster. So like a part of Metro that was responsible for finding a module from an import path is 15% faster, 15 times faster. Doesn't mean that the whole experience is 15 times faster. This improves the overall performance of Metro, particularly for warm builds, which we've seen at around 4 times faster. Okay, that's nice. And here is like a demonstration of bundling like an application. And yeah, like it was quite fast here and a bit slower in the old version. Okay, cool. Box shadow and filter style props. That's something that we're gonna have to try. And long story short, this is some new properties to some new styling options for React Native, such as the box shadows that we had them, but it was quite tricky to add box shadows to React Native. I was always going to React Native box shadow, and there was a, where is it? Now it's here, but there was a tool. It was a generator, and I was always just adding with depth and copying all of this. So to add the shadow, I was doing, you need like to add elevation for, if I'm not mistaken, Android, and all of these properties for shadow color, offset, opacity, radius for the other platform. Now the shadows get a little bit better support in React Native, and it's in line with like the web standards. So we can add box shadow, can take over a string, which will mimic the CSS syntax, or a JS object which can have variables, for example 55550 in the color, or offset X, offset Y, blur radius, spread distance, and so on. So yeah, the previous shadow functionality had some shortcomings addressed now by the box shadow. This does, the previous box shadow did not work on Android, now it's going to work, and so on. So this seems like a small thing, but it's quite important. It's quite huge because it's such a common thing to do when working with styles, and it was not supported for a very long time in React Native properly. Now it's going to be supported, and I really can't wait to give it a try today. Same things goes with filter. Add a certain graphical filters to an element. There is a mix of color filters that let you modify things like brightness, saturation, hue, as well as non-color filters that let you add blurs and shadows. So this is also coming to align more React Native with CSS, with web standards, to adding filters, and it's supposed to work now in React Native 0.76. That's nice. That would add some easier ways of styling things, of maybe blurring. That would mean that we no longer need like a extra library for blurring. Yeah, it can also take a string or that mimics the CSS syntax, or it can be an array of filters. Limitations: the iOS filter only supports brightness and opacity. Okay, there are some limitations. So that means that we cannot do blur on iOS. Maybe now, maybe later it's going to be supported. And iOS filter will not apply shadows, outlines, or any other graphical elements outside the bounds of the element. So yeah, it's going to be the element and nothing outside that. The Android blur and drop shadow are only supported. Okay. And filter implies overflow hidden. Okay. Hello from Ukraine. Hello. Why you can't access the repository? I think it should be public, no? Is it public? Yeah, it's public. Okay, what are the breaking changes? Things that will stop working in 76, and if you upgrade your existing application, this is important for you because you have to make sure that your application will still work. And if something is not working, you usually look at the breaking changes to see what are the changes that might break your application when upgrading from older version to the new version. So the first one is the remove dependencies on the React Native community CLI. And yeah, this is important because React Native vision is to be framework agnostic, meaning that the React Native is going to focus on the core and let the framework decide like all of our stuff. So they remove the React Native community CLI as a direct dependency of React Native, which means that you can still use React Native CLI, but it's not going to be a direct dependency of React Native. Decoupling it allows to move faster through releasing this project independently and to better separate the responsibility of both projects. Yeah, one is to run and to initialize project, a React Native project, and the other one is the core. Your PC is saying I already updated one of my application to 0.76. Did see performance improve actually. That's nice. Any particular areas? Did you do any testing or it was more like a feeling? Or maybe on some low-end devices? How did you go about it? Hello, Francesco. How are you doing today? Rafael is asking, is it possible to start a project with Expo, with React Native 76 and Expo SDK 52? What would be the command line? Yes, it's possible. We're going to do that in a second. I just want to finish going through React Native release docs now, just to have a big pictures of everything new. I want to do the same with Expo SDK 52. Again, to have a big picture of new changes in Expo SDK 52. And after that, I really want to dive deeper to start using these things to explore, experiment, try stuff out. Because even for me, not everything is clear. And in this live stream, the goal, even for me, is to understand better like the new changes and to give them a try and to see how that will impact us React Native developers. So stay tuned, and in a second, we're going to actually initialize a project with React Native 76 and Expo SDK 52 to see them in action. We are close to the end of React Native 76 release notes. So here, let's move to the next one. Android apps are 3.8 megabytes smaller thanks to native library merging. Is this part of the breaking changes? I don't think it's a breaking change, it's like a benefit. But that's a good thing. That's a really amazing thing whenever the applications are going to be smaller. And also what's more important probably than being smaller is the launch time. So the app startup time will be reduced by 17 milliseconds or 8%. Cool. And this was done by merging some common libraries into one library, React Native, as far as I understand. Oh, on the other hand, this is a breaking change for both app and library developers. Okay, that's why it's here in the breaking changes. So it's a benefit, but it comes with a breaking change. So if you are upgrading, like it might break something, or if you are a library developer as well. App developers will have to update their application when created as following. So you need to do that if you're not using Expo. The benefit of Expo is that we never have to touch this code in our life. But if you're on React Native CLI and you upgraded from a older version to React Native 76, you have to update this on creating your Android file, in the initial Android file, to this code and import a new library. And you have to do that, otherwise the application will break. This change is necessary in order to properly load the library, which includes the upgrade helper. Okay, perfect. Going next is going to be updates to the minimum iOS and Android SDK requirements. So nowadays iOS, the minimum platform and SDK versions, iOS 13.4 to 15.1. What's the iOS usage distribution like nowadays? I don't know. What's the latest? Oh, but this is the minimum platform. So now the minimum platform, the minimum iOS version that you can target is going to be 15.1. Again, let's try to see if we can find iOS version distribution. So here, I'm not sure how recent it is. It's October 1st. We see that if we target iOS 15.1 and above, iOS 15 and above, we are covering 95.1, at least 95.1% of devices. So that's pretty good. And it starts with iPhone 7 and iPhone 6. Maybe even more because this is iOS, or probably less because this is iOS 15. And I think it should be the same. So yeah, we're gonna target more than 95% of devices. Our application is going to work. And for Android, the minimum SDK is going to go from 23 to 24, Android 7. And let's try to find the same Android version distribution. Market share. When was this published? May, that's at the beginning of the year, so quite old. And it's going to be Android 7 and above. Android 7 and above. So it's actually 99%. Here it shows like how many users are using this version or lower, hopefully. I don't know here, cumulative distribution. So 7 and above, that's 97.4%, even better than iOS. Okay, perfect. So this is done like in order to try to support like only like the newer features of Android, like, and try to get rid of old stuff. Is this a live stream or a recorded video? This is a live stream. This is a live stream. These changes were announced earlier. Okay, our breaking changes. Animation. Stop sending state updates to React in looping animation. This was causing unnecessary re-rendering with looping animations. What does that mean? That probably is referencing the React Native built-in animations. How many of you are using the built-in React Native animations compared to React to reanimated? We have here. Let's do. I'm curious to know. Because when it comes to animations, I will always stick to React Native reanimated. But I'm curious, like, if people are still using the built-in animation library from React Native. We're breaking. Okay. DevTools, we removed the inspector panel, performance plus network tab under the new architecture. Okay. I don't understand this. Text engine, always use attribute throwing box instead of attribute. Okay. Doesn't tell me a lot of things. Android rendering, the backgrounds are no longer directly or this. Okay, again, doesn't tell me a lot. Perfect. So shout out to the Meta team for the tremendous work that went into the React Native 0.76, and not only in this version, because this version is kind of the cumulative work that has been done over the past 6 years. And yeah, that was huge. Like, huge shout out to everyone involved in this. So to upgrade to 0.76, you can, if you are using React Native CLI and you're not using Expo, in that case, the upgrading is a bit harder because it's kind of manual. Because you have to not only upgrade the libraries, but you also have to upgrade some of the configuration on the native side. So that's actually one of the reasons why I only use Expo, because upgrading is much easier. Upgrading an Expo project involves only upgrading the Expo SDK and the dependencies and maybe fixing some breaking changes. And Expo is taking care of everything that comes below it, which means that Expo is taking care of upgrading React Native to 0.76. So they took care of this for us, and we only have to upgrade Expo. But if you're using in a bare workflow, like the directly React Native with Community CLI, there is the upgrade helper that shows you the difference between the starter project of, like, let's say your application name is, I don't know, my app, call my app, and you select like what version you are using. For example, if you're upgrading for, I don't know, let's go with the latest 75 to 76. This is going to show you some adjustments. Is going to show you what difference, like what you have to upgrade on your code. So here are the package.json with all the dependencies that you have to upgrade. And this is the native side code. Like, for example, on Android main application, you have to, instead of calling this loader init, you need to do it with the open source merge mapping from here. Upgrade the build tools, the minimum SDK to 24, and so on and so forth. So it's not a lot of changes if you look here, and it should be quite easy. It's more complicated when you're actually not upgrading from the latest version, but maybe you're upgrading for 0.72, for example, to 76. In that case, it's going to be a bit more complicated, and as you can see, like, it involves a lot of code. And whenever this code that comes from React Native is together with some changes that you have done to the native side yourself, or because you installed the library, like, it's getting complicated. So yeah, good luck to you if you are not using Expo. That's I wouldn't be in your place. But these are the changes from React Native 0.76. In a second, we're gonna explore some of them, and especially I want to give a try to the new DevTools and to the styling features, to the box shadow, to the filters, and what else did I note it down? Yeah. These are the things, and the new architecture, we're gonna have a look at it, but nothing crazy that we can do there, other than saying like, yeah, we are using the new architecture. Anyway, now we're gonna go into the Expo SDK 52, and here Expo SDK 52 is going to include the new changes from React Native 76. I mean, it's going to include React Native 0.76, and it's going to add a lot more changes or libraries supported by the Expo and so on. So in a second, we're gonna get into this. Do you have any questions for React Native 76, or we're gonna get to them when we actually try them out? So from our poll, what do we see? We see that 23% are using React Native. Where is it? React Native animations. 76 are using reanimated, and 0% are using nothing. So everyone is using animations. That's nice. I have tested filters on Android. It works perfectly, unlike Blur View that was breaking. Okay, that's cool, but I would really wish to have like support for both iOS and Android, because what do you have to do now? Use Blur View on iOS and filters on Android? Do you know if it's going to be supported later? Let's see. More questions. Hello, Theodore from Bulgaria. Oh, yeah, did PC said he upgraded and did not see better performance. Forget to add not. Yeah, because in a lot of cases, like they're marginal improvements on performance, so nothing like crazy that you would probably not notice like without like actually testing and putting some numbers down. But yeah, we'll see. What is the fabric in the new architecture? So the new architecture, the React Native new architecture. The new architecture actually has two parts, two components to it. It has them. Where is it? Maybe I can find some. Come on. Fabric. So I cannot find like fabric or something like this. Just want to show like these parts. Okay, this is good, and let's do. So the architecture, as I was explaining before, the communication between the JavaScript and the native side happens in a way for two reasons. Like one communication is purely like executing code, like you want to run a function on the native side. Like, I don't know, get the location using the native driver of location. That is a native module. For that, you don't need to render anything on the screen. So in that case, the part that is responsible for that in the new architecture is called native modules. Things that are not related to rendering, things that are related pure to functionality, to the communication, to sending data or interacting or running functions on the native side, native modules. On the other hand, we have use cases where we want to render a native component. Think about a native map component or as simple as a native button. This button should be rendered, and the rendering engine in the new architecture is called Fabric. In the old architecture, it was called Paper. In the new architecture, it's called Fabric. So new architecture has two components. It has the native modules, which is pure for, let's say, functionality, and it has a Fabric, which is for rendering, when you have to render a native view and sending there like properties, assigning callback functions, and so on. So these are the Fabric in the new architecture in simple terms. Is SDK 52 stable, or it takes some more time for stable release? At the moment, it's still in beta, but usually this the beta period is quite short. So we should see the public release probably in a week or two maximum. Don't have exact days, but I know that Expo is preparing like a launch week. So soon, and we should see it then. It's usually like quite fast, like the beta period. Okay, I have tested filter. Okay. Will the application compress when I build with Gradle using Expo SDK 52, or I need to configure the legacy package? I'm not sure if I understand. What do you mean like compress? DevTools finally back, but Flutter still has better DevTools. Don't have a lot of experience with Flutter, but yeah, trust you. I want network panel so much. Is it going to be in the new DevTools? I think so. Even now we can use the network panel. What is the way of upgrading Expo SDK? We can talk about that as well. I'm going to show you later. We're going to start by initializing a new application with Expo SDK, but I'm going to show you how you can upgrade it as well. But long story short, upgrading Expo SDK, it's a matter of upgrading the actual Expo SDK node module package and then running npx expo fix, and that will upgrade all the dependencies to the new level. So now you upgraded all the dependencies. Expo took care of upgrading and doing all the native side changes for React Native, which is the pain. And for us developers, we only have to go through the breaking changes and see like if something, if some breaking changes are affecting our application, we should do some changes in our code. And I'm going to show you the breaking changes from Expo SDK 52, and you should also probably look at the React Native 76. Will the new architecture make applications more snappier? It's supposed to improve the performance, yeah. By how much and if it's going to be in all the cases, I cannot say. Will most of the performance gain come from React Native library developers using the new architecture's capabilities and upgrading the old ones? So yeah, like for library developers, for the libraries to be supported in the new architecture, we have to do some changes to support the new architecture, and yeah, that would bring like the performance benefits as well. But the new architecture is not only about libraries, also like a lot of the internals that are using the new architectures, how it works, and all the React Native internals are migrated to the new architecture, and also all the libraries supported, built by Expo, they are now supporting the new architecture, and everything that they are going to include in Expo Go are also going to be the new architecture only. So from now on, like we set the standard, like, okay, from now on, everything new that is happening is based on the new architecture, and we're trying to move to the new architecture, everything that is left behind, basically. No, network panel is not available in the new DevTools. That's quite bad. Okay, so let's move on to the Expo SDK. Expo SDK 52. Let's go again through the release notes and see what happened, and then we're gonna get our hands dirty with it and put it into practice. So the beta period begins today, which was October 24th, and will last approximately 2 weeks. So that means that quite soon should end the beta period. Okay, SDK 52 includes React Native 0.76. That's a good one, important one. And I think like, if you remember like a couple of years ago, like I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, Expo was always a couple of versions behind the React Native. But nowadays, what I like is as soon as React Native new version appears, Expo SDK is updating to support it, so we are always up to date with React Native. We can browse the changelogs here to learn more. Okay, we talked about the new architecture. That's also we're gonna get it in Expo as well. So, the new architecture enabled by default. Projects that are upgrading from a previous SDK release can opt in to the new architecture. So if you're just upgrading, you can opt in and see if everything is working for you. It's not required, and it will not be automatically enabled for existing projects in SDK 52. So if you're upgrading, it's not going to automatically be enabled. The automatically enabled, it's only for new projects. But you as a developer, after upgrading, you can enable it yourself. So, and yeah, we recommend enabling it after upgrading successfully using the old architecture. In SDK 53, we will likely enable the new architecture by default, and you will have to opt out. Okay, that's good. So now it's opt-in from Like basically now you have to set something to opt in the new architecture. From 53, it's going to be automatically true, and you have to opt out if you want. And in future, in 2025, we may remove ability to use the old architecture altogether. So yeah, we have some time to get up to speed to the new architecture, but yeah, I think now is the time to start upgrading to the new architecture. Expo Go for SDK 52 and higher will only support the new architecture. That's cool. All Expo SDK packages support the new architecture. So everything like Expo Audio, the Expo Video, and so on, like all of them are supporting the new architecture. And any third-party libraries that are included in Expo Go are also supported. So there are third-party libraries like, I don't know, Expo, what are third-party libraries that are included here? Tell me something. Expo libraries. Now I cannot think about anything. Expo Reanimated, yeah, Reanimated is a third-party library. It's not, it's a third-party library, but it's included in Expo Go, and that means that it is also supporting the new architecture. To testing your application, okay, ensure that you use the latest version of all third-party native libraries. Run npx expo doctor to find libraries that are not compatible with the migration. The doctor will check like the React Native directory, and this React Native directory is a directory of packages and libraries that also has a feature for new architecture. So supports new architecture. Yeah, new architecture we can see here. That's another nice website that you can check for packages that support the new architecture. Highlights. iOS deployment target bumped. We already talked about that, and it's to 15.5. This mirrors the minimum version of iOS that is required by React Native 0.76. For Android, that's the same. The minimum SDK was bumped. EAS build default worker image for iOS builds updated to macOS 14.6 and Xcode 16. EAS build is the service that is building your application in the cloud. It's a service from Expo, and it's the images, like the workers that are building your application, they updated to Xcode 16. What version of Xcode do I have? Stable release of a new Expo video library. This is huge because this is, in the past, whenever we worked with audio or video, we were using Expo AV, a library for both handling the audio and video interactions. But this library was quite old. It was one of the first libraries built by Expo. And they decided that it's time for a huge update for this library. And instead of updating this one, they decided to separate the audio and video into separate libraries, because in a lot of cases, you might need only one. For example, if you're building a music player, you don't need video, you need only audio. So in that case, you don't need a lot of features unnecessary from the video part. So nowadays, Expo AV is still supported, but very soon it's going to be deprecated, and probably in a year or so. I don't know if exact days, but in the future we're no longer have Expo AV. Instead, we're gonna have Expo Video, which is the new video library that provides the API to implement video playbacks in the application. It's still experimental, but I don't think it's experimental. It says experimental because in SDK 51 it was experimental. Now in 52 it's stable, as we can see here. stable release of Expo Video. And this video component is going to replace AV, as I said, and it's going to provide a quicker updates, and it's also going to be supported in Expo Go. And it has a much better API compared to the previous, like based on hooks and really nice interactions. And yeah, now it's going to be stable. And another important thing, so if you are using the video part from Expo AV, it's recommended to start the migration to Expo Video. Hey, Mr. Frank, thank you very much. Hey, Katalin, how are you doing? Hello, Andre. How are you guys? Katalin is saying, nice, I saw my library on React Native directory. Where was that? Animate React Native, this one. Shout out to Katalin. And if you need animations, you know where to look for. And this one is, okay, nice. Okay, so moving on. I was speaking about the Expo Video, and the same story happens with Expo Audio. And in Expo SDK 52, there is already, where is it? If we move on, beta release of Expo Audio. Actually, we gave it a try in the previous live stream in the project that we have built for the meditation application. And we gave it a try, and it's the same story as Expo Video, much better API, much more easier to use. It's still going to be in beta, so probably there will be breaking changes later, so maybe don't upgrade it in production yet, but soon we're gonna also move from the audio parts from Expo AV to Expo Audio library. I was looking at this one, so let me see here. There is a utility for generating the video thumbnails, a very important one, because whenever you have videos in the application and you have a list of videos, for example, you always need to generate thumbnails. And it was always a hassle to do it, like you'd do that on a server, or you need like additional third-party libraries for that. But now with Expo Video, you can generate thumbnails using Expo Video thumbnail. Oh, no, it's going to replace the Expo Video thumbnail. It's going, the Expo Video has the utility for generating thumbnails. Cool. And it brings like all the modern features, integrates nicely with the modern features of the platforms, iOS and Android, for video playback, for picture-in-picture, for the player, how is it called? The lock screen control and so on. Okay, moving on, Expo Audio, did I miss anything here important? Okay. Another beta release, Expo File System next. Expo File System is the next library that is getting an upgrade, it seems. A new API designed for ease of use and developer experience based on Expo modules. Synchronous reads and write operations, nice. Yeah, it's still in beta. Many improvements to the Expo camera. Expo camera got quite a huge upgrade in the recent Expo SDK, I think in 51, if I'm not mistaken, and it still receives many improvements. Yeah, it was in 51, it was promoted from Expo Next. Expo Live Photo. This is a new library that allows you to handle iOS live photo feature. I'd try to give it a try. I'd like to give it a try in a second. Improvements in affordance for edge-to-edge layout in Android. Okay, so edge-to-edge, I didn't know a lot about that. I actually read, where is it? Notjust.dev. If you go to our newsletter, you can subscribe by the way to our newsletter to keep up to date with everything in React Native ecosystem. And they found out about in our latest newsletter. I'm reading it as well, and I'm finding new stuff. It's written by Anis. Huge shout out to him. And he went deep into these changes and specifically mentioned the edge-to-edge SDK. So I didn't know a lot about this edge-to-edge, but it seems that Android So Android 15 introduced a significant change. Apps targeting SDK 35 will have edge-to-edge displayed in force by default. What am I missing here? Isn't the default way of rendering edge-to-edge, and we had to use safe area views to avoid rendering behind like the notches and so on? Why do we need something extra? Like what? I'm missing something here definitely. Because if we don't use any safe area view, it's going to be rendered edge to edge, no? We have to look into that. What's up with edge to edge? Okay, moving on, Expo Image V2 introduced a powerful new API for loading images. They use image hook. Okay, cool. Preload images into memory. So Expo Image is a faster alternative to the React Native image component, and it has like a better caching mechanism, providing better performance than the built-in image component from React Native. And we see that we have a use image hook that will allow us to preload images in memory. And will allow us to see the size and metadata before the image is rendered. That's cool because knowing the size, we can start generating and rendering, like let's say the UI. Even if you don't have to wait for the image to actually be loaded to know the size, you're gonna know it beforehand. So you can build like the UI maybe with some skeleton UI, or even for rendering like huge lists to optimize them, knowing the size of the image. Okay, perfect. Expo Image Manipulator. A lot of things with images, with video, with audio. Expo SQLite API provides convenient key value storage. It's a new library. So it's the async storage built on top of Expo SQLite instead of, okay, I see. The same API as the async storage, but it also adds synchronous APIs. For example, you can call get item sync instead of get item to make it synchronous. Okay, so we would be able to replace the async storage with Expo SQLite async storage. And this library is going to be implemented behind the scenes with SQLite, but it's going to give us the same API as the async storage, like get item, set item with additional synchronous call. I think that's going to be very handy, especially when, especially avoiding like having to declare like asynchronous functions in use effects, let's say. Okay, it's a lot of things here, and I already lose track of things. I really want to give them a try. Let me see where I want to stop more. Like crazy much. Like this is a huge one. React Native DevTools replaces the JavaScript debugger introduced there. It's very similar, so you don't have to worry about learning a new tool. They were both built on Google Chrome Tools and Chrome DevTools protocol. DOM components. Let's see if we're gonna have time to try them out, but I would like to. So the long story short about DOM components, as I understand it, is that it makes it easier to incrementally migrate a web-based application to a mobile application. So imagine you have a huge web application. If you want to create a mobile application, instead of having to rewrite everything to mobile, to native, what you can do is use DOM components, and that would allow you to use web-based components like a div and so on. And then that's not the end of the story. Like, yes, you can either stop here and use DOM components, but for specific features, for specific screens that you need native performance, you can migrate them slowly. So DOM components, as I see them, is not the ends of a mean, like it's not the end result. It's a tool, it's a way that helps us migrate web applications to mobile incrementally, slowly, like screen by screen, feature by feature. Another use case where DOM components is let's say the end solution is when you want to use a web-based component. Like you found a library, let's say, for example, you found a really nice rich text editor for the web. On mobile, you cannot find a similar library. In that case, you can use that library using the DOM components and embed it in your React Native application. So yeah, makes it easy to integrate web library into your React Native app, even if it's just for a single view. That's true. And Evan did a talk this year about DOM components, and he also did a live stream on Expo channel on how he migrated his website to React Native, to Expo using Expo DOM components. Okay, use DOM is fantastic. Yeah. Experimental tree shaking, okay, React compiler. Oh, React compiler. Nice. Okay, my head already spins from all the new changes. Reduced size of Expo CLI by removing dependency of React Native community CLI. Expo project use, okay. Expo modules API, these probably are changes more targeted to library developers. Expo router, early preview of server components and server actions. Oh boy. So, what's available today? Okay, let's see if we have anything to try out today. Expo router UI API for tabs, the new headless. Okay. Oh, guys, that's a lot. That's a lot. Let's get building. So let's go ahead straight to the how to try out the beta release, and let's initialize the project and play with some of the stuff that we've seen today. So we can either initialize, the easiest way is going to be to initialize a new project starting with Expo SDK 52, or you can upgrade an older project to Expo SDK 52, and that should be documented here. Upgrade an existing project. To do that, you do npm expo next install fix, and you need next because currently it's still beta, but after it's published, you just do npx expo at latest. Let's go ahead and start a new project. Should we go with default template? Let's give it a try with a default template. It's going to have a couple of tabs. Maybe it's going to help. I'm going to have React Expo router installed. So let's go ahead, open a terminal and get going, because my head is already spinning from reading. I want to build stuff, to try out things. So let me go ahead. So let's navigate to where we keep our projects and start by doing npx create expo application at latest. Then we're gonna use the template default. And just because if you're following this live, you're gonna do at beta. If it's already out of beta, you can just do default, and it's going to use the Expo SDK 52 and React Native 76. Let's go ahead and wait for our project to be set up. Andre is saying, hey, I came across your channel this week. Where is it? Your videos is perfect. I'm Russian and I don't know English well, but your videos are godsend. I managed to close the task in production. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. I'm actually from Moldova and I know some Russian. Я понимаю русский очень хорошо, немножко сложновато говорить. But yeah, probably that's the why you can connect like with my English accent, which for some native speakers might sound a bit weird. Star is saying, I need some advice from you. I learned coding in 3 years. Now my coding skills are great, I think, but I'm struggling to get a job. It's been over a year. I've been looking for a job. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly like what to say, but what I recommend you do is try to add some projects to your portfolio. I think that would add a lot of benefits and help you get like some leads. Share your journey online. Maybe you can do that as well, and don't stop applying. Like apply. And if you have like projects on the side, if you can show that you not only learn stuff, but you can actually deliver and build and so on, which you don't need actually a job to do that. You can do it on your side. I will shamelessly plug the hackathon that we're organizing this December, where you can actually go ahead and build something, launch an application to the market, and trust me, like it's going to help you in your search for a job. I remember when I was applying to Amazon for a job at Amazon, I think that the side project that I've been building back then, like together with the startups that I've been part of, were a huge part why they accepted me. Because other than that, like I didn't have like a very impressive CV, let's say, but I had like some side projects and 2 startups that I've built, and I included them there, and they knew that I can deliver. I know like how to approach projects, and probably this was a big reason why they accepted me. So yeah, build stuff, share stuff, and never stop applying for jobs. A couple of simple rules. Antonio, they cooked. Yes, they did. They asked for experience, but I never worked anywhere. So you can get experience not necessarily by working somewhere. You can get experience yourself, like it's in your hands. What they ask for experience is not like, did you work for someone? They want to see that you can take a project, you can take it from idea to launch. You can take these responsibilities yourself. Not only knowing stuff, but being able to do things. And you can do that with side projects, but not like some side project, like, I don't know, like let's put it this way, like not like try to actually solve a problem, try to build a use case, try to build a profitable application, try to find and solve real problems. When Expo SDK 52 will be released? They said it's going to be 2 weeks after the release of beta, which should be like either this week, next week, or like very soon. We're also going to have like, they are going to host a launch week on their channel, so pay attention to their channel for this. Let me go ahead and open the newly built application in Cursor, my application. Okay, here we have it. I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to go ahead right away to start the development server. I'm going to open the terminal. I'm going to do npm start. This will start the Metro bundler. And if we look at the package.json, what we are interested in is in Expo 52. What we are also interested in is Expo router for the preview version, the React Native 076, and these are the main things that we are interested in at the moment. Okay, too many open files. Nice. That's amazing. From time to time, I see this issue. Never remember how I fix it, but probably I should go through. Through what? Trying this? Delete all? No, I need to change the limits. What? It was not enabled, so I did shut down server. How do you open it? Should I just do brew install Watchman? It's gonna be so funny if I'm gonna spend like, I don't know, 1 hour fixing this Watchman issue. Like, oh boy. But yeah, okay, it's not closing. Let's give it a try to open it on iOS. So, if you have iOS emulator or Android emulator, and you have an older version of Expo Go, in the terminal, as you can see here in my case, we see that my Expo Go is outdated. So the thing is that for Expo SDK 52, we should use the latest version of Expo Go. So let's just press yes, and this will simply update the version of Expo Go here. If you are working with the Expo Go on the mobile device, the one that you downloaded from the stores, that is not, like during the beta period, that is not yet going to be compatible with SDK 52. Later, when they go public, the SDK 52 is going to be public. In that case, you can just simply update Expo Go on your device from the store, and it's going to be the latest version. But now I think you can download this version from Expo Go version. There should be a link to get the Expo Go from their website. So if you just go expo.dev/go, here you can change the version, and you can select the specific Expo Go supported from the version of SDK that you're using. So the latest is 51. I don't see where it's the latest one. Okay, so it's not here. Alternatively, connect your physical device with a cable to your computer, and it's going to install when running it there. Now that our Expo Go is running, let's see. Oh, look at this message. David is saying, thank you for your videos. Where is it? I've soon became some sort of a guru in React Native because of them. Getting gigs here and there. Worked a lot of projects, even bank application. Oh my God, that's so amazing. Thank you very much for saying that. And I really appreciate, I'm really happy for you. Like, that's the best thing that can happen for an educator. Will there be a hackathon this year? Yes, there will be a hackathon. You can go to notjust.dev. We have a brand new domain. And you can go ahead and sign up. It's going to be 1 month starting from December 1st to 31st. I'm also going to do daily live streams during this period, showcasing how I participate in the hackathon, how I build applications. And yeah, it's going to be really sick. We're going to have a lot of prizes, which some of them might or might not be a MacBook, and it might or might not be the latest one, the M4. Just saying, like, more information gonna come later. But yeah, go ahead, not just hack, sign up if you're interested in that. Back here, what do we see? Reload. Open iOS. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, as Andre is saying, getting a job and getting rejections is hard, but don't neglect the CV, the resume part. I think more importantly, like, it's about like project, like show them real projects that you've been involved in. You switch to Cursor. I think I'm currently living under a rock. Yeah, especially like when preparing a lot of projects nowadays, I need to move faster. So I'm giving Cursor a try. I'm not even a power user. I'm not like power user or anything like that. But yeah, I'm switching between like VS Code and Cursor. Cursor is just VS Code with more AI tools. What's happening here? Come on. Let me uninstall completely Expo Go here. You know, there is a very high probability that I'm out of memory. The iOS 16 is not responding at all. Let me just check how much memory I have. My computer is not responding. Nice. Storage. No, actually, I'm good on storage today. Simulator, let's go ahead and quit it and try again. Whole month for a hackathon. Oh my God, yes. You're gonna have time, like in a month. I think it's a good amount of time to build a real application, deploy it to market, and start getting some users. And I'm actually going to do that 4 times over. Like during that month, myself, I'm going to build 4 applications. That's the goal. And I'm going to live stream that on the YouTube channel. But you just have to do one, submit it, and compete for the prizes. Okay, perfect. We have our application running. So what do we see when we just run the application? One thing that we see is that no bridge log. The bridgeless mode is enabled. We see that our application is using the new architecture with a bridgeless mode. Again, another term that in a grand scheme of things means new architecture. And we see a warning. The JavaScript logs will be removed from Metro from React Native 077. So as we read in the in the documentation here with Metro. So they're phasing out the Metro logs. So from the next version, we're no longer gonna see them here. Now we still see them. So if I'm gonna go into the layout somewhere here and do a console log hello, we're still gonna see them. We see them here, but later we're never gonna see them here again. Probably, I don't know. So yeah, please use React Native DevTools as our default tool. Type J in the terminal to open, requires Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. So you need Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. So sorry for all the Safari users or whatever browser you might use, but you need Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, which means that probably you need Google Chrome. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Let's open in J with DevTools. Here we have it. Here is our React Native DevTools opened. What do we see? We see the welcome screen. Welcome to debugging in React Native. There are documentations. Okay, we see the consoles. We're gonna see that if we... What I liked is that through here I could press R and it was reloading my application. From this console I cannot press R, so I'm gonna have to move here, press double R. And this is what usually happens with these debuggers. Like, where is my logs now? Why it's not here? Do I have to press J again? And here is hello. But if I'm gonna go ahead and add a button. I'm gonna go ahead somewhere here, add a button. Title, click me, console logged clicked. Click me. So here I don't see it, here I see it. What am I doing wrong? Because the first console log I see it, but then it's only there. That's fun. If I go ahead and throw an error here. What's going to happen if I press click me? Here I see the error. Here I see nothing. I'm definitely doing something wrong. Sources. React Native. Memory. Components. Profiler, components. Okay, network from Expo seems that it's working, like it has assets and so on. But components, nothing. Logs doesn't seem to work for me. Debugging basics 101. Opening the dev menu. React Native provides an in-app developer menu, which okay. React Native DevTools. Let's go here. Is a new experience featuring end-to-end rewrite for our debugging state. Okay. Another thing, like, why do we have console here at the bottom and at the top? What's the difference? I don't know. Is designed for debugging React app concerns and not to replace native tools. If you want to inspect React Native's underlying platform layer, for example, while developing a native module, please use the debugging tools for Android Studios and Xcode. Okay, so it's for React Native applications. Compatibility. React released in 76. Supports all React Native application running Hermes. It replaces Flipper. Okay. Okay, if we have console. If your app has a lot of logs, use filter box. Why it's not working for me? Sources and breakpoints. Even as simple as should I enable it, or it should be enabled by default? Or maybe the version of my Chrome? Let's see what Expo here mentions about DevTools. This is the Expo DevTools. React Native DevTools replaces OK. How about learning a new tool? They're both built on Chrome. Question: what am I doing wrong, guys? Any ideas? Let's try Android. I don't know. We see here 76. Expo, iPhone. I don't know. Let's install the update of Expo Go. Hackathons will be very different now because of AI tools. That's very true. And that's why we're going to encourage real world use case, because coding is not the hard part. Coding nowadays becomes easier and easier. The hard part is finding like an actual solution to an actual problem and building a business around it, or building a profitable application. So back here, let's go ahead and do J again for the Android with debug target. We have it here, which we have console. It has the first hello, but then if we do click me, for Android it works. It says clicked, and we also see the error with all the frames. It also has the component, so for Android it actually works. The component part is interesting because what I can do is I can go ahead and I think I can highlight, right? I can do this one and highlight on a specific part, but if I highlight, it just highlights over everything. Select an element in the page to inspect it. So I want this button. This button is a text. So I can see it here. I can see the style property that was used. Can I change it? If I do red, yes, changing it here changes it here automatically. That's cool. You can debug things like the children. You can do here hello. It's going to change. You can look at the parent, the theme text, for example. Still like super like how do you say cluttered in my opinion. Like look how many components we have here until we get to the view. So in my opinion it's quite hard like to use. But yeah, this is basically what we had on React as well. So I guess this is the de facto. So yeah, this is cool. This is actually nice. Memory, what do we have here? We have the JavaScript VM. The JavaScript thread is taking 13 megabytes, right? And sources, here is where we can add breakpoints. But how do we do that? Am I still live? Can you confirm if you can hear me? Yeah, I think everything should be good. So yeah, on Android for some reason it's working okay. On iOS, for me it was not working properly. So let's give it another try and launch for iOS. And also you cannot open it for both iOS and Android, because if I want to do Android, it's going to close the one for iOS. Oh, that's also interesting. But anyway, let's try to launch the iOS one. Okay, for iOS, it started working again. It started working. So if I do click me, okay, now in the console we see. In this one we do not see, or no, we see. Click me. What's happening here? After reload, it kind of loses track or what? I'm launching it. It has this stuff. I can go ahead and click. It shows. I dismiss. I click again. It shows again. But if I reload, it loses connection and I no longer can click it, right? Look. Yeah. It no longer does that, because if I reload the application, it kind of loses the whole thing. We can no longer highlight anything from here. We can no longer do anything. We just have to reconnect. And reconnecting means closing it and opening it again. Interesting. But at least it works. And is this issue on Android as well? If I launch it for Android, and do this text is still red. That's interesting. Okay, because I didn't reload it. But if I reload, I think I'm going to lose this connection. Yeah. Is this a known bug? Maybe. I'm gonna check later if it's a known bug. But okay, we see. What I still didn't test is actually profiling. What is going to do? And I lose if I reload. What would I do? How do you enable this profiling? Okay, so after recording something, what we see what happened. Did not render. Okay, so that were the DevTools. I still have to get more in depth into that to understand like the full picture of them. But at least we see that this is going to be the next way of how we're going to debug our applications. We're going to have to use the React Native DevTools. All the logs are going to happen. We're going to check them here in the console. Now there seems to be some small bugs, but I think like in future these are going to be fixed. And it's going to hopefully improve from here on and allow us more things such as handling the components and highlighting them, navigating and checking all their properties, being able to debug this way easier, profiler, memory, and so on. All right, let's go move on. What else do we wanted to check? From React Native 76, I said that I wanted to check the box shadows. So let's go ahead and do here a new tab, boxes.tsx, and export default boxes, return some views. Let's import view from React Native and let's render some actually boxes. It's going to be width 100 and background color red. If I reload, I should see a new tab. Here boxes, okay, we have it there. Let's do style, put it in the center and see what we have there. Maybe not red, but let's do so if we take a simple box shadow from here and apply it to our box here as box shadow as a string, here it is, it works nicely out of a box. So the box shadow, the syntax in CSS, it works as following. We have, where is it? So it's the length, this is the offset on one axis. So if I do 100, we're gonna see this is the x-axis. Here it's the y-axis, so if I do this, it's going to go down. And this one is what? On which axis? Oh, this is the radius. So the more we have it, the more blurry it is going to be. If it's going to be 0, it's going to be not blurry at all. And the color here is the color of the shadow. So if I do gray, it's going to look like this. Nice. Will the inset also work? Will this one work? I don't think it will. But it seems that it should work with inner as well. But we can also specify them not only as a string, but also as an object like this. I think with string it's much easier to understand. What's wrong with offset? Iterator method is not callable. What's happening here? And the object would yield the same box shadow. And I'm taking this object from here, it doesn't work. Read only box shadow value. Type with. So cannot be inset. Okay, we saw that. Does not have a spread. Does not work on a view if there is no background color. Why the object one is not working and the string one is working? So with string, it's working perfectly. With this one, doesn't seem to work. Probably it's what? Offset. Yeah. And how would you add more shadows in the same, for the same view? Let's check how you do that here. You do multiple times. What if I do it once again, but this time it's not going to be gray, but red? comma. Okay, so if I do -10, -10, you can apply multiple shadows to the same component. Okay. That's also possible, multiple shadows with separated by comma. And let's see how that looks on Android as well. Could it be double bracket? Double bracket for what? Box shadow for what double bracket? Box shadow can be an object, so this is the object. I don't see it. Let's go ahead and see it on Android as well. I'm gonna go here. Yes, it works nicely here as well. Okay, so that was box shadow. I don't know why the object is not working, but the string version is working perfectly. We can go to the next one, and the next one is the filters. So filters add certain graphical filters to an element. So let's start by rendering filters.tsx. Let's import a view, and here let's render an image, and the source is going to be URI. Let's go ahead and see in the assets if we have any images that we can work with. We definitely have. We're gonna use which one? Let's use picture, I don't know. I'm gonna find something to work with. I'm gonna do anything from here. For example, the React logo. Let's try this one. So in the filter, let's go ahead and import image from images React logo, and also importing the image from React Native. And the source is not going to be URI, but it's going to be a local image like this. So if I go to and reload, oh, it is possible that is box shadow an array. Okay, back to box shadow. I think you are right. I think you might be right. So if I do box shadow here and wrap it around the object, wrap it around an array, because we can apply multiple box shadows, that should work. I'm 100% sure it's going to work. So yeah, you're a genius, Antonio. Thank you very much. So we have this one, and we can add another one, for example, offset -5 and with red. And this is going to add another box shadow. So the box shadow works as an object as well, but in this case, you need to put it into the object inside an array, because we can apply multiple box shadows. Should it support like both cases? Because in a lot of cases you might want only one box shadow, and it would work better if we just specify it like this. But it's the same case with transform. Like transform should always be an array. So it's more aligned, like box shadows is an array and that's it. Cannot be multiple things. Thank you, Antonio. Back to our filters. We have our image. Let's see if we see it here. Perfect. Let's give it a style to this view to align the image in the center. And now with styling to this image, should I do like this to make it larger so that we can see better how it works? We can apply filters. And what filters can we apply? Also from MD and documentation, from the documentation of CSS filters. So we can do blur, but it's only going to work there. So on iOS, it only has what? Brightness and opacity. And I can apply it as a text. Okay. So I can do here filter, and I can do opacity 0.5. Will that work? Yes. And opacity 0.1. That's also going to work. Okay. And maybe brightness 2. Brightness. What's the brightness values? Brightness here 50% amount percentage, so less than 100 darkens the input and more brightens it. So 100% is going to be the default one. 150 is going to be more bright. Probably is going to look better if we actually add an image there. Let me do this one. Come on. With 100%, height 100%, and resize mode contain. Okay, now it's better. So yeah, this is our opacity, how it works. So if I'm gonna do 1, it's going to be opaque. 100, that's the default brightness. Decreasing it to, I don't know, 20% is going to be a very dark, and it applies to the whole view. So that's why we have here, if we didn't have these ones, no, we need it. Okay, okay. I think these filters are very powerful for running some animations, and especially if combining them with native wind, we can run some nice animations here. The blur is not going to work here, so blur 10 pixels is not going to work here, but it should work on Android. So let me reload it on Android. Let's do 100 brightness here for the default one. And on Android, we're going to have this filter, and it's going to have a blur. Yes, it has. It has a nice blur out of the box without any extra libraries. So if I do 2 pixels blur, it's going to be, yeah, perfect. Love it. Amazing. Look what we can do. But no, I'm not gonna do it. So yeah, the rest of the filters should work on Android, because it mentions that on iOS it's only brightness and opacity, but on Android probably should be everything. So what other cool filters we have that we can try on Android? filter, contrast, grayscale. We can do grayscale. And it's going to be almost gray. We can do hue rotation, is going to change the colors. So if I change everything to hue rotation. Okay, nice. If it's minus 90 degree, okay, that's cool. Can add it multiple times. Anyway, you give a point. Drop shadow, will it work? Yes, it works as well. Drop shadow, nice. And on iOS, drop shadow probably is not going to work. Yep. That's so cool. Invert opacity, sepia. What that is going to do. You can add a filter based on URL. Okay, cool. Hopefully we're gonna see support for iOS for the rest as well, but I think this is a great start, and it's a small. It might seem like a small thing, but it can be one of these features that we're gonna start using and take it for granted in a couple of months that were not possible here before. So I think we should also mention the person who did it. All right, I forgot his name. He's on Twitter, but shout out to him. Like, you know, he's adding like these really important and nice features to the styling. Okay, so let's go ahead in Expo SDK documentation and see, because from React Native, that's what are the more important things that I wanted to look into in the DevTools. Phasing out metro logs, faster metro resolution. This is, yeah, we just have to test it, but we're gonna believe that it's faster, especially for warm builds. Like the metro resolution should be faster. Box shadow and filters, we just checked that. Android applications, we will trust it. And yeah, that's it on the React Native side. Let's go ahead on the Expo side and see and play around with some of these things. Expo video, stable release of Expo video. We could give it a try and see how it works. So Expo video, let's open the documentation. I think it should be quite straightforward to install and use it. So all we have to do is npx expo install Expo video. I'm gonna open a new terminal to do that here. Let's go ahead and add a new tab, video.tsx, export default video, return something. Let's see what we're gonna return. So for the usage, we're gonna have the video source, and it's taken a video from a public video here from Google APIs. Let's press on it to make sure that it works. It's the bunny video. Yes, it works. And now using the Expo video, we're gonna use the video player and the video view. And we're gonna render the video view here. So what the video view needs, it needs a player, right? So the video needs a player that we can define at the top of our component. And we're gonna give it to the video view. I think that's the minimum thing that we need. So now if I'm going to reload on Android or on iOS here, we should have a video tab. I'm gonna go there. And I hear something, but I do not see. Probably I need to give some style here. 100, the height 100, yes. Okay, we have a player running, and we can do probably a resize mode, or that is the, oh no, that is the, okay, so this is the video view. Yeah, as you can see, it's much easier to initialize the video player. We just give here the video source, and this is going to be the initialization function. So we just set that the player should loop, and it should play when it starts. You could also do player volume 0 if you don't want it to have sound, and it's going to work both here and here. Yeah, on Android and on iOS. Okay, have it in full screen. You can exit full screen. Think it should also, maybe you need to configure it if you want it to have picture in picture. Yeah, here is what? Okay. So this is the new video. It's already public. Allow full screen, allow picture in picture. The default is false. So let's try to see allow picture in picture. If it's going to be as simple as just setting it to true. If I do reload here and reload here and start the video, and then go from there. I'm not sure why it's not as easy as I expected, but let's see. If now I go here, no, it doesn't. Picture in picture. Oh, we need the support picture-in-picture property of a config plugin has to be configured. So in the config plugin, where is the config plugin? It doesn't have a documentation for config plugin. But probably it's going to be, as we do that in app.json plugins, we have Expo video, and we're gonna do that here. So I'm gonna put it into a string, into an array, where the second part is the options, and I need to do supports picture and pictures to true. And will it only work after doing a development build? Picture in picture. On picture in picture start. A callback to call after the video players enters picture in picture mode. Starts picture in picture automatically. Whoever the player should be start picture in picture. when the app is in the background. Only one player can be note. Okay, so on the video, I should also add automatically. Starts picture-in-picture automatically. Let's see that. I don't know why I went into this thing, but I'm really curious to see it in action. Okay, on Android we see it working, picture-in-picture, video. We can do it full screen. It's going to bring up back. On iOS, on the other hand, on iOS it didn't start. That's interesting. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but at least on Android we saw that. What else is interesting here? Okay, in a use effect we can add listeners for when player is changing. To add buttons, like it's as easy as we're interacting with the player itself, like player.pause, player.play. Someone is saying me, is that supports background playback in here? Supports background playback. Is that a config plugin ish thing, or here supports background playback? Yeah, I think it's on the config plugin, but that will take effect. If I do a custom dev build. Native controls. On iOS, I didn't see the native controls, like especially like to. I think by default should be true, right? I'm not sure why I don't see the bar that moves. Is it hidden or it's not even there? Yeah, it was hidden for me because the bar is here. But if I do hide or flex one, for some reason it overlaps there behind the tabs. Okay, so this was the Expo video library. We're gonna use Expo video in a lot more tutorials in the future videos, and the same goes with the Expo audio. With Expo audio, I'm not gonna give it a try because we already have previous week we have done a tutorial on that. So if you go on our channel, our live streams tab, there is the meditation application, which we have done previous week. And this meditation application is using the Expo audio. I don't know where exactly, but here it's using Expo play button. Yeah, it should be around here. Yeah, player. And the API for Expo Audio is very similar to Expo Video. It's also going to be heavily based on hooks. Here, you can learn more about Expo Audio. But Expo Video is public. Expo Audio is going to be still in beta. Okay, guys, I need some oxygen. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm back. Prashad is saying, am I late? What are you up to experimenting? Today we're going through the Expo SDK 52 updates and React Native 76. So it's a lot of experimenting, yes, like experimenting with the new things, with the new toys that we've got. Supports background playback. Wanted to explore Flutter, but SDK 52 is really holding me back. That's true. When the tab bar is floating in a scroll view, you can't see contents behind the tab, so usually at least scroll view adding a padding bottom. So maybe the same thing, but for video player. Yeah, it's true. Like the video player is not probably taking care of the space that is taken from this one. I think it's a small issue. Is it possible to do this pattern in Expo? MVVM. If I can remember what that pattern is. But I just know the name. It's like what? Model view. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So what else do we see here? The beta release of Expo file system. We rebuild the Expo file system library with a new API design for ease of use and developer experience. This enables synchronous read and write operation using shared objects to represent files and directories, and advanced features like stateful file handlers. Is now in beta, fully backward compatible with if you decide to partially adopt it, with plenty more of improvements and integrations planned. So let's see, Expo file system next. That's how we can install it. File create. And as you can see, it's synchronous. File write. Downloading files. Using legacy. So previously it was file system.read as string async. Now it's download file async file. Okay, so probably at this moment, not a lot of new features here. It's just they rewritten the file system with using the modern the Expo modules. But in future, we probably will expect like additional things here as well. But at least to be like a more modern API. Expo camera. What are the improvements here? Now we can disable the shutter sound. Okay. This one is actually interesting, the Expo Live Photo. This library is currently iOS only and it allows you to play back iOS live photos. Image picker for picking live photos from the library. So can we try this one now? Let's see. I'm not even sure if I will. Let's give it a try by installing it first. What is the name of your VS Code theme? Should be Expo Material Darker or something like this. Not Expo, just Material Darker. Don't remember. So what's going on here? Okay, probably I need to the legacy pure depths there. Oh, too many dashes. So usage, here is a simple example of Expo Live Photo combined with Expo Image Picker. What's going on with my internet? It kind of drops from time to time. So we first pick an image for live photos. Let's give this screen a try. I'm just gonna copy paste it into a new tab here. Live, just live.tsx. I'm gonna put the code here. And we need the Expo image picker. So let's go ahead and install this one as well. npx expo install Expo image picker. And I'm gonna reload. It's only available on iOS. So let's go to the live tab, pick an image. And there is no live photos. I'm going to try to send a live photo from my device here. Let's give it a try. Let's do a selfie. Come on, cannot get it. It should be enabled. Okay, let's give it a try. I'm gonna send it over to my PC. And I'm gonna drop it here. So this is a live selfie. If I hold it, will it work? Come on. But it's not. It's not sent as live, right? How do I get a live picture here? How do I get a live picture there? Good question. Oh, but I can, you know what I can do? To run it on my physical device, I need to do a development build, which is going to take time. So that's not an option. Any ideas, guys? I don't know, I think like at this moment my only option is going to be to do npx expo pre-built or run iOS device. And I'm gonna run it on my device. So I see some discussion about the MVVM pattern. I think it's like very specific to Android. Like I think like, and I don't agree with the comment that it's only done for scalable project and big projects are not done in Expo. Like that's not true. Like big projects are done in Expo, and it doesn't mean that MVVM is like the only solution. Like probably we're using like different patterns, like inspired from web, from React, that are helping us solve that one. But it's a bit different, I guess, or I might be wrong. So what's going on with the build here? It doesn't want to build. Okay, so Expo pre-build clean. Yeah, like the whole architecture or how React works is different. Like it's different than how MVVM works. So the thing is that with this architecture, like the view, like the thing that is rendered is going to listen to updates from the model and then re-render. And this is kind of taken care for us by the React itself. So the React is re-rendering to display something else, so something new. So it's part of the React architecture. So it's completely different. That's why it's npx expo run iOS device. Hi, are you reading chats? Yes, I am. Okay, while it's building, hopefully it's going to work. Let me see what do we have here. Expo camera, live photos. Is muted on load. Okay, we're gonna see if we can run it on our physical device in time, and we'll see that. Now let's move on here. Improvements in affordness for edge-to-edge layouts on Android. That's something that even before, like, it didn't make a lot of sense for me. Like, why do we need that? Because edge-to-edge. Probably I'm out of the loop of what's happening on Android. But I guess so far it was not working like this. Probably this is how on iOS it is, but not on Android. And with this React Native edge-to-edge, we should be able to do that. Oh, there is the immersive mode, which allows you to hide the status bar and navigation bar. Okay, cool. All right, so Expo image. The version 2 introduces a powerful new API for loading images. So the Expo image, okay, the build failed for my physical device. I don't know why. So I'm not gonna be able to show you the live photos feature. But let's go ahead and see the Expo image in action. As I was saying, Expo image is a library developed by Expo. Install Expo image. That has the goal of replacing the React Native image and improve the performance for it. So I'm gonna do that with legacy peer deps. And now we can go ahead and where is our application? Let's open it on our here. Let's go to the filter maybe where we have this image. And instead of using the image from React Native, let's go ahead and import image from Expo image. I'm gonna remove it from React Native, and it should work like it should be compatible like with everything here. Hopefully, if I'm gonna go to the filter, we see the image. And the Expo image, if I'm going to go Expo image, not picker, but simply Expo image. Yeah, it's basically designed for speed and support a lot of image formats. And it also has additional features like using blur hash and thumb hash to represent a placeholder for an image. And also what? It also caches locally nicely the images. And with a new, where is it? With the new version 2, let's see, are we using version 2 now? Expo image. Yeah, we're using version 2. There is a new hook called use image that would preload the image. So let's give it a try to see how it works. I'm gonna also go in this filter. Let's import use image from Expo image. Let's go here to the filter. And we're going to see, we're going to already have console log image, some information about the image like height and so on. What we can do with this one is yeah, we see the image here displayed here, but we can take the height and width and display it. For example, if we want width 100%, what we could do is we say the height, or actually the aspect ratio, is going to be image dot height divided by image dot width, and that would keep the same aspect ratio of the image. Doesn't really look right. .8, or should it be the other way around? The width divided by height. Yes, width divided by height. And then I can add a background color. Very light gray. And this is going to work that even if the image is not, where is it? Let me just do it like this. So what I'm trying to showcase here is that we're gonna have information about the image, such as the height, the width, and so on, even before the image is loaded. And with that information, we can render some placeholders. And after the image is loaded, it's going to replace it very nicely. So I'm gonna replace it with image, and it's going to replace. So we can build ahead of time the layouts by preloading the images. So let's preload the image into memory, providing its size and metadata before the image is rendered. The result of this hook is a shared reference to a native image, drawable, and UI image on iOS. This can be passed as a source to render the image immediately without any additional network request and IO operations. So what other information about the image we're gonna have in the image.ref? But we saw it here. So height is animated false, media type null, scale 1, width 800. And we can even do lower width. Will that work? And as you can see, just by decreasing the maximum width here, we decrease the is it going to actually decrease the amount of the image that is sent over the network? Let me press J and open the DevTools and look at the network. And I'm going to reload. And I'm going to navigate here. And it doesn't display the network request here. Or is it? Is it taking it from the cache? That's the question. If I'm going to change the URL to something else, pick some to this one. Let me see it. Save. If I'm gonna look into the network, and clear, and then maybe what, come back or reload. Go here. Loading fail. Load async function has caused. Why did it fail? Invalid status code. Oh yeah. The URL is longer. It's like this. And I cannot see it here. So if you want, guys, a very realistic development experience, this is it. Things are not working, like you're scratching your head, like what's happening? Why I cannot see the network request for this image here? Anyone? Ideas? Image? Hey Neil, I don't know how Telegram did that. I don't even know like what the animation, like I can look at it a bit later. Okay, so it's going to be a mystery for me if this is the rendered width or, but yeah, it's probably the rendered width. So if I do here 100, it's going to be better, 1000. Okay, nice. So this is the Expo image v2 with a use image hook that allows us to preload images, get information about their metadata. Expo image manipulator now offers a new object-oriented contextual API that is more performant, flexible, and provides better developer experience. Images returned from this API can be efficiently passed as a source to the image component from Expo image v2. So image manipulator, a library that provides an API for image manipulation on the local file storage. I didn't work with this library actually. What kind of manipulations can you do? You can rotate. manipulate async. Rotate, flip, compress, format. Okay, that's cool. If you're building some image editing tool, you can crop. Nice. Extend, flip, render, reset, resize, rotate. Okay, curious to see, maybe we can build some kind of image editing editor, but it kind of provides like quite basic as I see now. New Expo SQL Lite comes to replace async storage. This is quite a good, interesting one because we are using async storage so often, and this Expo SQL Lite is going to help us move from. Let's try to install it. It's coming to replace the async storage. But it's going to be built on top of Expo SQL Lite. Is it not available yet? But this one redirects me to the SQLite. And here, no mention about the async storage. I think the link is broken here. What am I missing here? I cannot install it. Did you manage to build on Android with React Native 76.1? For me, it doesn't work. Are you using Expo or React Native CLI? Most probably this async storage Expo SQLite is not published yet, because the link doesn't work and the install command repository not found. So probably it's still it's not launched yet. Installing it froze. Okay, moving on. SQLite now supports SQL Cipher. You can enable it without an issue that we can compatible with. I don't know what's this cipher. encryption. So it will enable database encryption. Cool. SQLite now supports saving SQLite databases to share containers on iOS and any other available directory. This allows an application, for example, an extension like a widget or shared extension, to share a database with a main application or across other applications. That's, I think, huge, because with SQLite, you can interact with a local database, but now this can also be saved on shared containers. So you can have multiple applications connected to the same database, same local database. I think this is huge, especially when you have like multiple targets. You have an application, you have a widget, you have an extension, and you all want to connect to the same database, but they are all different like targets, different kind of applications. Or also when you are one developer building like multiple tools that are targeting like the same use cases. Like, I don't know, you're building like different productivity tools, or maybe you have the same application with two targets, like one is a free version, one is a pro version, and you want to share a database between the two of them. Like that can help you do that with shared database containers. Nice. Without Expo, the CLI, because it's an older project. I didn't try building for with the CLI, to be honest. No. What errors does it throw? Like where it's broken? Is it? Oh, you said like it's an old project that you upgraded. Expo notifications improvements to the library, including but not limited to better support for FCM v1. You can expect a lot more improvements to them as we continue investing it. Nice. Expo notification is getting attention. Let's go. Support for iOS 18 tinted colors. So iOS 18 tinted icons basically is a feature that allows users on iOS to apply these colors to the icons. So with Expo SDK 52, we see that we can add support for this. Controversial iOS tinted color. Yeah, that's true. You can provide a version of your icon that works well with tinted by iOS, rather than letting iOS attempt to tint your standard icon. And how we can do that? Probably we just provide a different icon. So the icon type string. Okay, you can provide an icon light icon, you can provide a dark icon, and you can provide a tinted one. And metadata is just a link to your icon. So for example, from app.json, do we have icon here? Icon. Maybe even for iOS, we can do, can we do icon here? Tinted. And you can provide a URL there that is specifically built for the tinted version. The icon that will appear for the app when the user system appears is tinted. And we can look at how you can build that. Yeah, this is a light version, this is a dark version, and this is the tinted that you can provide and let iOS build tint it for you. Cool, perfect, nice. Small thing, but more in line with the platform standards. Fixed an issue with environment variable and embedded Expo config. Constants now properly source. Okay. Calendar form sheet now launches from Expo calendar. Some mentions about app.js conf. Nice. The calendar form sheet. System provided calendar dialogues. Okay, cool. React Native DevTools, we learned about that. DOM components. Should we give it a try to see them in action? Let's do that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to take a short break and we come back to give it a try to DOM components. So, are you still here, guys? Everyone excited for the new changes? Hopefully the live stream is helping you understand better and everything that is new here with a little bit of examples, with a little bit more context. And so you could know like what to expect from Expo SDK when 52 and how to use the new features. What I want to do now is I want to give DOM components a try. So DOM components make it easier than ever to incrementally migrate from web to native. They also provide a useful escape hatch that makes it easy to integrate any web library into your React Native application, even if just for a single view. To use DOM components, create a React DOM component file using div, span, and so on. And then add use DOM directive at the top of a file. You'll now be able to import the DOM component from a React Native component. The DOM component will be rendered inside a web view, but you can mostly use it like a normal component via props, with slightly different pattern required for non. You can use any web library that you like within DOM components. Okay. Let's give it a try. So that means that I can go ahead in my components and say this is going to be a web component .tsx. I'm going to do export default web function web component, and here instead of rendering a view, let me render a div and some web code. A div, and there we can do an h1 hello. I can do a p, this is a web component. I can do an a for a link, href, come on, Google, and so on. If I simply import this component in my application, it's not going to work. So let's give it a try. I'm going to go into my application tabs. Let's give dom.tsx and export default function DOM, and let's render these web components. I'm going to do that and reload. It's not going to work because we cannot use div and so on in React Native. So let's go on this DOM and we see view config getter callback for h1 must be blah, blah, blah. But if I'm going to go back to our web components that are using web DOM components, and at the top do use DOM. Now, simply going to this DOM, it should work. I don't know where it is, how it is, but here it is. So it took a bit of time, as you saw, to load. Why was that? If I go to DOM, you see it takes a bit of time to load. Is that only in development? But anyway, we have a H1, we have a P, we have a link. If I press, it's going to open the Google. So as you can see, this is basically a web view. So use DOM is, at the end of the day, it's a easier way of using web views. And even if it's cool and powerful, I don't think you should think about it as like what I'm trying to say is that don't think that the DOM components is something new that you should always use. This is not intended for you to use when building new things. It's intended for making it easier to migrate web applications to mobile incrementally, because you can move the whole application to mobile with use DOM and then slowly say, okay, this component is very important, so I'm gonna go and replace the div with a view, so basically migrate it to native and then remove slowly from different components we use DOM. So use DOM is just the middle point where that makes it easier for you to move from a web application to mobile. Another use case that DOM components is great for is using web-only elements. So libraries that are only available on the web. For example, let's think about, like, not sure if it's going to work, but let's give it a try. Like, let's do rich text editor. I didn't give it a try, so let me see. Is this free? No, this has pricing. NPM. Rich text editor. How would you use that? Let's try to install it first in our application. This is a library intended for web. It's not intended for mobile, but maybe you cannot find like anything better for mobile and you want to use this web version on mobile. So let's try to install it first. Then in a DOM component, in a component that has use DOM at the top, let's import rich text editor and I don't know, let's render it. I'm not sure what else it needs. Let's see, peer depths. What's the problem? The Expo SQLite is the problem. So yeah, let's remove this one from here. Okay, so if I do go to the DOM, takes a bit of time to render. Takes a long time to render, actually. I remove this one, it was working before better. Okay, but if I add it, sanitization could not be found within the project or these directories. Ooh. Probably that's like some pure dependencies or some functions from the browser. Sanitize HTML. Sanitize HTML. So I need to install all these dependencies, probably. Okay, we have something. Can I give it a style? But no, it's not style. Now it's how do you style it on web? I already forgot. With 100%. This is just pure CSS, right? Or no? Can you have inline styles? Can you do that? Oh boy, how do you style it? Cursor, help me. Style the div to be full width. Don't think that's where I'm tripping. Okay, I have something. So I can go ahead, right, I can then select and then bury something. I don't know what's happening. Why the language is that one, but something is working. So we could use a web-only component using use DOM in React Native. Probably also need to do the other things like jQuery and so on. But anyway, this was a web-only library used in Expo using the use DOM. And yeah, that's most of the things that I wanted to get into today. You can check out Avon's talk and also his live stream where he went more in depth into moving a web application to native. And let me just double check if I still wanted to check something from here. Experimental support for React compiler. Enable it with experiments in your application. That's interesting. I'll look into that. Maybe I will prepare something special for that. And Expo router, we didn't talk about that. This is an early preview of server components and server actions. That also needs like a separate video, like if we want to get into it. Guys, if you have any questions, now is the time, because we are approaching the end of the stream. I'm just checking like the last things, if there is anything that we can show quickly. So remote push notification will not longer work in Expo Go. The reason for this change is we want to make transition from Expo Go to development build smoother. What? And make push notifications in their setup more transparent. Push notifications are deeply integrated with a native application which they are delivered to. Expo Go made some necessary integration steps in order to support push notifications, but the integration was somewhat opaque and would become invalid once user transitions from Expo Go to development build. With this change, we instead ask developers to create a development build when they would like to use push notifications and configure the right way. Okay, I don't know how I feel about this. I understand that, yeah, in Expo Go, push notifications kind of work magically because the Expo team took some implementation steps on the Expo Go part. And that probably led to things where you test it in development, it works on Expo Go, and then you publish it and it doesn't work, and you're like, well, it works on development. But that probably was a problem. Now in Expo Go, it's not going to work at all. So you're gonna not be able to even test it in Expo Go, I guess, the remote push notifications. You'd have to create a development build, which is not hard, but I really appreciate when I can use Expo Go for as long as possible. And for developers that know that, yes, before going to production, to keep push notifications working, you have to take some extra steps on the native side. For that, I think it's a bit sad, because I was using Expo Go to quickly test some push notifications without having to deploy it. But now it seems that it's not going to work anymore. Same thing goes with Google Maps. Google Maps were supported in Expo Go by default, but now you actually will have to, similar to push notifications, yeah, Google Maps were kind of working automatically on Expo Go because probably it was set up with an API key for us. Now it's not going to work, so maybe this is like a financial decision. Notable breaking changes. Expo Go now uses the new architecture. So that means that, yeah, we no longer have GSC, we only have Hermes. Camera legacy has been removed, so it migrated to camera. SQLite legacy was removed, now it's SQLite, the new one. So these are the updates that were slowly like deprecated, moved to legacy, and now it's all together to the new one. Create React Native no longer supporter. Okay, so this was the huge Expo SDK 52 together with the React Native 76, guys. What do you think about it? Thank you very much, Francesco, for the nice words. All right, guys. So thank you very much for joining this live stream and for learning more about the Expo and React Native. It was nice to go and analyze all of these changes together with you to provide this raw experience without a lot of preparation. Yeah, as Francesco said, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's how it goes. Like some things are working, some things are not, and I'll spend more time these following days to learn more about like these changes and to prepare to integrate them better in our future projects. I want to make sure that you know that this November on 26th we have the course launch, the React Native Mastery. If you haven't already joined, make sure to join the waitlist if you want to be notified. This is the course that I've been working on and putting everything into it throughout the last year. It's going to have like a very nice stack, and you're going to build there 7 different projects. Also, I want to let you know that we are organizing the Notjust Hack, the hackathon for indie mobile developers, where we would like to invite you and to challenge you to build and launch an application from December 1st to December 31st. During that period, I'm also going to do daily live streams. So it's going to be a huge month and it needs a lot of preparation. And yeah, can't wait to see what you guys are going to build during this event. And yeah, really looking forward to that. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel not to miss any future videos that we do. And thank you for being part of Notjust community. Take care, stay hydrated, and write clean code.